raven, and the eagle. We are a matrilineal society as we follow our grandmother's bloodline and our mother's bloodline. We follow our mothers, honor our fathers. Our fathers are always of the opposite. Everything in my culture requires balance. The eagle and the raven bring balance. There are important clan stories to why we chose these animals to represent us. Can you stop it right there? Yeah, over here on the theater? Yes. Yeah. My grandfather is David Williams Sr. He was a very well-known master Tlingit artist. Some of his work is in that older Smithsonian in Washington, D.C. Wow. In 1971, the Queen of England, he had gone to England to meet the Queen. She has one of his raven carvings. When all these other nations were coming to meet the Queen, she asked them all for their war call. When it came to my grandfather, we don't have that. Our songs are about what we lived through and about the love of our people. So here is his mural.
Oh, wow. That's beautiful.
Okay, on your left, you see there is the eagle. Underneath that is the shark for the Wishkitan clan. The first two sets of green eyes at the top, that is the bear for the Chukunadi clans.
Can we take a picture?
Yeah, you're welcome to take pictures. Okay. The man in the middle is Cheat. I'll be sharing his story with you as one of our stops. So the next two sets of green eyes at the bottom is the wolf for the Kakwantan. And then here is the raven and the whale. The 8 seagulls around that whale is to represent his 7 daughters and his wife.
Nice. 8 seagulls.
The traditional paints, they were made out of, the red was the different mixture of berries mixed with the seal oil. The black came from the soot from the fires mixed with the seal oil. The green came later with the copper. When the copper oxidizes, it has that green sheen, you mix that with the seal oil. That was the original paints, how we made our own paints before we had hardware stores. David Williams Sr., he comes from the Chukunadi clan.
Who's that in the middle?
The man in the middle is Cheat. He is a Wishkitan warrior. So there is a story to those 4 swishes on the top that represents 4 fires.
So yeah, I want to just clarify. So this is his original painting?
Yes.
Okay, so this is not a reproduction.
No, it's
okay.
Well, it is a reproduction, but it's his design.
His design, gotcha.
His design.
Okay.
This was done by his nephew, also a master Tlingit artist. You're going to look for David Williams or Jim Marks.
Okay.
Jim Marks was his nephew. That a lot of his work is still in Juneau and a lot of different other places.
Okay.
If you haven't gone through Juneau yet, I suggest you go to the Sealaska Museum. It's right downtown.
Yeah, we've already been there.
You've already been there?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Did Marjorie, you guys went and seen Marjorie the glacier?
Yes.
Yes.
Did you go into John Hopkins?
Yes.
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 Yeah. Yes, you saw it?
Beautiful, isn't
Yes.
it?
Yes, that is. Now we say home is where your heart is.
Yeah.
Well, this is my heart, but the bigger piece comes from where you were today. We're so connected to everything. You know, as human beings, we never thought we were above anything. We were the caretakers of each other, from one ice age to the next. You know, we were taught you always have to take care of what you have, so you have it to give to that next generation. For we are only borrowing this land from our children and our grandchildren. Someday, we're gonna have to give it back. What condition are we giving it back in? It is our shared responsibility to be the caretakers of Mother Earth. She was our first teacher. She's the one that taught us how to live here. We watched the animals. We watched the plants grow. We watched what the animals ate, when they didn't eat, and what plants they used, when they didn't use it. We follow the seasons, but not by checking a date off of the calendar, but by how the land grew. You know, the skunk cabbage, it's a thermal plant. It grows low to the ground. They're big elephant-eared plant leaves, right? In the springtime, when those leaves first droop, that tells us that it's time to head out to icy straits because the black and the red ribbon seaweed is ready for the picking. Watch the land grow, we watch the plants. The salmon berry, it resembles salmon roe. It comes when the salmon come in June. You know, so when that berry is green, that means the salmon are closer to the rivers. When that berry drops, that means there are salmon in the rivers. The fireweed, that purple plant, the beautiful fireweed, you know, that tells us, the cotton tells us that our winter is coming closer. But when that cotton falls, it tells us another thing. It tells us that all of the worms have fell out of the blueberries. So now it's time to go find your favorite blueberry patch to pick blueberries. You know, we're blessed here. We could still live off of our land and our waters if we did not have our grocery stores to go into. Port Frederick and icy straits. They're over 500 feet deep. The tide changes every 6 hours. There's a 24 feet difference in the water level between high and low tide. The tide is out, that table is set. From all of the different things that you can gather from the beaches, like cockles, clams, gumboots, wild beach asparagus, seaweed, but not the type you're seeing on their beaches here. This is the bull kelp. It is medicine. Anytime I had a sprained ankle or I sprained my wrist, my grandma would make me collect this bull kelp, and she would collect all the liquid out of the little puppies that it has, and it would heal my arm faster than anything I ever used. We still use a lot of our traditional medicines, like the Devil's Club is part of the ginseng family. You know, it helps build your immunities. It helps you when you're sick, or you can make it into oil and a salve for pain relief. I'm blessed to have my mother. I use Devil's Club for her. So this tunnel, what we just drove through, this is an important part of the story that I'm going to share with you at our first stop. This was also the first site for our village when we left Glacier Bay. We were Galtacon, village by the cliff, before this cemetery was here. This is the Raven Cemetery. The oldest loved one, she was 115 when she passed.
Wow.
July 1st started hand trolling and power trolling for the king salmon. In the late 1990s, a local man caught the largest king salmon caught on record to this date still in 2023. His king salmon weighed 87 pounds.
Oh, wow.
87 pounds. You know, we were always taught you have to take care of who took care of you. It takes a village to raise a child. I had many aunties, uncles, grandparents. I was raised by my grandparents because my parents worked so hard to provide and take care of us. You know, so your first deer, your first fish, your first berries, your first seaweed, you're to give it to your elders first, because we would not know this way of life if it wasn't for that unconditional love that survived from one generation to the next. So I take care of all those aunties and uncles and grandparents that took the time for me. You got to give back what you got, right? Always take care of who took care of you. And we always take care of our elders first. Our elders first. You got to take care of who took care of you. You know, just like my aunties and uncles, never once did they ever tell me no. You know, they always took the time for me. Now it's time to give that love back. It's time to take care of them the way they took care of me. The population of Hoonah is 800 year-round residents. So we are in downtown Hoonah.
Do you have nursing homes here?
No, we don't. But we all, that's something, unless it's absolutely necessary that your loved one has to go to a nursing home. we take care of our own. And I would like to thank you for your service. You know, for a small community, we have 308 veterans from the Territorial Guard to present day. 29 men from Hoonah went off to the Vietnam War. By the grace of that Kawu, we all have different names, God, Jesus, that Kawu. We always knew that higher being, that creator. They all came home but one. You know, present day wars, Jared Brown. He had 2 tours in Iraq in 2012. He won the Purple Heart for saving his entire platoon twice. So if it was not for your bravery and your service, we would not have all of these freedoms. My father, yes, you cut your lawn, they're honorable. May God continue to walk with you each and every day and continue protecting us, because we wouldn't have all of our freedoms without you. You know, 29 sons of Hoonah. Some of my uncles were on Hamburger Hill and survived it. If you want to know more about the Hoonah veteran story, you look for a documentary called Hunting in Wartime. The Hoonah veteran story. It's a documentary. Hunting in Wartime. Hunting in Wartime, yes. So, 308. In those earlier years, our civil rights leader is Elizabeth Perodovich. In the 1800s, in the 1900s, even though we were still a territory, there were most stores and restaurants had signs in their doors that said, "No dogs allowed" and "No natives allowed." On February 16th, 1945, the anti-discrimination law was passed in Alaska when we were still a territory. Elizabeth Perodovich, my favorite quote from her speech was, "For her being a young woman, freshly out of savagery, shouldn't have to remind gentlemen with 5,000 years of civilization underneath their belts about their Bill of Rights."
Okay, maybe right there, about 1 o'clock, there's a dark spot and you can see a white spot. He's moving. I don't know if it's a bear or a bird, but a fish.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay, so we'll get out here and
It's a bear. I'm going to sit here. Getting off here.
Over there. It doesn't look like a bear.
Okay. Well, we have some mama bears and cubs that hang